Jimmy Butler likes beefing his way out of a bad team situation. Bad for him, anyways. He's done it multiple times throughout his career. One particularly legendary target of his beefing? The entire Minnesota Timberwolves organization. Jimmy's foundation for beef began off-rip at the start of his NBA career. He was drafted by the Chicago Bulls in 2011 and joined head coach Tom Thibodeau on a quest to create a new era of Bulls basketball that was not synonymous with Michael Jordan. Jimmy being drafted to a team led by Thibodeau was like discovering peanut butter and jelly are a good combo. Both fierce competitors with a focus on defense first, they took Chicago to the postseason 4 years in a row together. But that success meant nothing to a Chicago front office known for alienating their coaches. Anyone who watched The Last Dance is familiar with their game. Despite Thibodeau being the perfect complement to their rising star, he was unceremoniously fired. The Bulls blamed a departure in culture, but really, it just felt like Thibodeau and the front office didn't get along. After that firing, the team hired Fred Hoiberg to the skipper position. Hoiberg and Thibodeau could not be more different in their coaching styles. Hoiberg was brought in to focus on building a better offense, while Thibodeau had been there to build and maintain a top defense. Hoiberg was also brought in to connect with players and build a winning program with a roster Thibodeau built up. Unfortunately for Hoiberg, this left Butler in a tough spot. He played well under Thibodeau, and suddenly he was thrust into a new system with a new coach that, well, didn't fit his learning style, let's call it. One of the first signs of Butler's misalignment with Hoiberg came after a loss to the New York Knicks in 2015. Butler was quoted as saying he believed they probably have to be coached a lot harder at times, adding that Fred is a laid-back guy and I respect him for that. But when guys aren't doing what they're supposed to do, you gotta get on guys, myself included. Another sign? Butler and another veteran left behind after Thibodeau's firing. You might know him, Dwayne Wade, called out the team after a loss to the Atlanta Hawks in 2017. Anyways, the beef with Chicago came to a head with a trade. Chicago wanted players to come in who fit Hoiberg's vision on offense, but they conceded the team's grit and identity by trading Jimmy away. Not exactly a beloved move at the time. Butler, who at that point was considered one of the best two-way players in the league, was given up on by the city he thought he'd play for forever. More importantly for our beef though, Butler's former coach, and now coach/president of basketball operations for the Wolves, Thibodeau, is who traded for him. So Butler went back to a coach he loves, and Thibodeau got his favorite player back, right? Well, Butler was also the veteran presence brought in to play alongside and teach Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Cat, who was hailed as the quintessential modern NBA big entering the draft, and Wiggins, who was getting comparisons to greats like Tracy McGrady before his draft, looked to be Butler's next best chances at reaching the postseason. It just meant Butler would have to be a teacher. With the acquisition of Butler, and with two young stars to complement him, a beautiful redemption arc seemed to be in the works for the two former Bulls. Neither really accounted for the impact new characters in their respective arcs, Wiggins, Cat, and general manager Scott Layden, would have. See, at this point, Cat and Wiggins were extremely unproven. They were young guns and had a lot of potential, very high ceilings, etc., but they were struggling to get wins and hold leads pre-Butler. And neither had really shown the ability to really grab the bull by the horns. This was on full display during a November 2017 regular season game where, despite starting the game off strong against the 11-9 Washington Wizards, neither Cat or Wiggins seemed committed to getting stops. So, playing defense. You know, the very thing that makes Butler and Thibodeau tick. There were several moments in the fourth quarter of the loss that were just clear indicators of how young and inexperienced the Wolves duo of Cat and Wiggins were. A turnover by Cat that could have been prevented had he just been paying attention to the players around him. A double team from Cat and Wiggins that couldn't contain Otto Porter Jr. in the paint. And a late closeout from Cat, all compounded into a very bad vibes loss. Jimmy was brought in to inject a defensive identity and help teach the younger Wolves how to close games, something that very clearly didn't happen in that loss. And don't get me wrong, he did bring that sort of identity to Minnesota. They managed to get to the postseason for the first time since 2004, and that was largely due to Thibodeau's coaching and Butler's all-star caliber play. But games like the Wizards loss stuck with the team and with Butler. His comments after that game were proof of that. Butler implied to reporters after that game that he wanted his Wolves teammates to start accepting tough love if they wanted to succeed with him. But again, they made the postseason. Objectively, the Butler experiment was, at least at first, a success. The Wolves were eliminated in the first round by the Houston Rockets, but still, they clearly had a good foundation to work with. Then, it was time to re-sign Butler. Enter our third disruptive character to this beef, Layden. Butler reportedly did not like the number given by the Wolves. Minnesota offered him a 4-year, $100 million contract extension, but he was looking for either more money on that 4-year deal or more years in Minnesota. In short, he felt lowballed and undervalued by the team and Layden. In addition to the math not mathing, Butler struggled with how differently his fresh-faced teammates were built. Another sign things were awry, Butler didn't even fly back with his teammates after being eliminated by the Rockets. He flew instead to Los Angeles for some R&R, and he did not go through end-of-season physicals. Butler was all but fed up with what he felt like were his teammates' nonchalant attitudes. That same report mentioned his fed-upness, also mentioned that Butler was leaning towards not signing the extension offered by Minnesota, regardless of them finding the space to pay him more. Andrew Wiggins' brother added some spice to the extension rumors, looking pretty excited about potentially not having Butler on the team anymore. Butler subbed him back because, of course he did, this is Jimmy Butler, he's not going to let you win a game of trying to be funny for clicks, that's his gambit.
Hallelujah! Keep that same energy. Let the church say amen.
So, at this point, we've got teammates not getting along, a contract extension not getting signed, and a new season imminent. And training camp is starting. And according to Taj Gibson, a previous teammate with Butler back in Chicago and teammate again in Minnesota, he was starting to get nervous about Butler even showing up to training camp, let alone participating. In October 2018, Woj reported on a very heated Wolves practice, saying Butler yelled at Minnesota's front office during a scrimmage and said, "You fucking need me. You can't win without me." Woj, by the way, was clearly very excited about this drama, a true reality television lover like myself. Jeff Teague, who was on the Wolves at the time and has become a premier source of all things NBA history, went into the most detail we've gotten yet on this incident on his podcast, Club 520. Teague paints the picture of a tension so thick in Minnesota's training facility, you could cut it with a knife.
So we were at practice one day. He comes 3 days after training camp start. We all think Jimmy about to practice, like Jimmy ain't practicing.
Teague says that basically everyone on the team is trying hard in his practice. Diving for loose balls, actually practicing. Meanwhile, Butler is just getting stretched out and massaged on the side. Until
Tibbs said, "We're going to scrimmage, Jimmy hop up." I'm playing.
Tibbs apparently named starters for this scrimmage, and includes Butler, which he shuts down immediately. He didn't want to play with the starters, according to Teague, but preferred playing with the third stringers, or as Teague called them.
He picked the bad news bears. No offense, but everybody in there, they wasn't gonna make the team.
So, ball goes up, game starts. And of course, Jimmy having something to prove, he goes and defends Cat immediately. That leads to a quick steal, and the gym is going nuts.
They jumped the ball. We throw it to Cat first play, Jimmy steal it.
Butler is relentless on Cat in this very meaningless scrimmage, and he lets Layden and everyone else in the room know he's him.
Jimmy started talking to the gym, everybody in the gym. Y'all better mother effing pay me. I'm like that. I'm like, he is nuts.
It feels like, based on the way Teague is retelling this story, this game went on for hours. That's how intense it was. In reality, they only played till Butler's ragtag team scored 18 and allowed just 6 points to the starters.
Man, Jimmy going crazy. Y'all think that team can win without me? I'm him. Pay me. Pay me.
Butler won't stop chirping at the execs in the room throughout this entire thing. Teague says he and the other starters wanted to replay Butler, but when they went looking for him, he said Jimmy was long gone.
He like, I just beat them with the G Leaguers. This is your starters?
According to Teague, he ran right out of the gym very fast. Ran right to Rachel Nichols, it seems. Nichols' interview is, I think, the funniest part of this beef. You just demoralized, or at least tried to demoralize, your team in front of top brass because you want to get paid. The team caught a stray in the form of total dominance on the court and then had to relive said stray on national television the same day. Why are they in it? Anyway, back to the interview. Butler told Nichols that his passionate words to the front office and teammates came from a place of not having played basketball in so long due to injury, so of course he had to come in guns a-blazing. Butler doubled down on the scrimmage just being a passionate response to management telling him he had to practice, and having nothing to do with any players specifically in another interview with JJ Redick, 1 month after being traded off the Wolves.
So now you done lit the match, but ain't nothing on fire yet, you just lit the match.
The Wolves canceled practice that was scheduled for the next day after the scrimmage, but the flames were fanned. The match Butler mentioned being lit in that practice was fully blazing. Finally, in November 2018, 1 year after the Wizards' loss that opened the floodgates for Butler's distaste for the team, and 1 month after the scrimmage, he was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. Cat and Wiggins got to stay with their team, and Butler got to go and contend. And this beef sort of faded away. Minnesota, of course, retooled around Cat, choosing him over Butler and Wiggins, and adding a complimentary piece or two. Butler was able to contend with the Sixers, but even that ended in a beefy way. Daryl Morey decided to throw a bag at someone who, let's just say Butler had a pretty bad reaction to who got a bag from Philly, and he let them know how he felt about it after he beat them in the postseason the following year.
Tobias Harris over me?
Butler then ended up with the Miami Heat, and he thrived with them. Miami, the so-called toughest, meanest, most conditioned, nastiest, and owner of ugliest court decal on earth team, went to the finals twice with him. Cat was complimentary of Butler's time in Minnesota, while Butler hasn't spoken about them at all since the Nichols interview. Seems like all is well for Butler. Oh man, is that Pat Riley's music? Just kidding. Seems like Butler literally cannot get enough of getting caught beef-handed by whatever team he's leading. That's just raw Jimmy. Thanks for watching. This is the first time you're hearing my voice on this channel, so allow me to introduce myself. My name is Candace Pedraza, and I'll be around for the next few months, helping deliver some beefs, some rewinds, and some other dope stuff to the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more of all of the above.